Hey friends, my name is Jackson. I'm not your average NB, and welcome back to my channel. And I'm doing another Reddit video today, and I'm probably gonna do an update to I'm a parent to a bunch of stuffed animals in the next couple days. I don't know when this video is going up. I wanted to put it up today, but I might try and do a little more recording, maybe on Monday or Tuesday. Actually, I don't think I can do any more recording on Monday. I'm gonna try and do some more recording later, or maybe I'll just make a shorter video. You know what? I'm gonna start reading stuff and then I'll decide what I'm gonna do. So, I'm going into best of Reddit updates, and the first update that we have is an update to the P-Gate saga, which I don't know if you guys remember, I read like a year ago or so. And this was posted 1 year ago, and it's the newest chapter of Ellie and Tortilla, so we're gonna see what's up. I'm gonna read the update because I wanna know what's going on too. So, there was a bunch of updates of the P-Gate saga with this, insane brother. I don't know if you guys remember it, but you guys can, go read the rest of it or go watch the video that I made in the past. Anyway, so there is a short summary here. OOP's brother-in-law starts peeing on things and Cat then also puts his bodily fluids all over his own cat and photos of his nieces. OOP is horrified and the in-laws, mainly the brothers, come into action. It turns out the brother-in-law is very mentally ill, he has very misogynistic views, and there is a belief it all came from him being bullied by his brothers growing up. There were sisters in the family, but they all died by the time of the P-Gate saga. Mother-in-law had already sent brother-in-law to therapy for 3 years, but he pocketed the money and pretended to do therapy when he was just hanging out with a friend. Brother-in-law had a very unhealthy dependency with Ted, OOP's husband, and was somehow jealous of OOP. Brother-in-law is now committed, and it seems he was having a psychotic break. After many confrontations and seeking refuge at her parents' house, OOP is told by Ted he wants a divorce to prevent his family hurting her anymore. OP and Ted divorce, she's in therapy, Ted is in therapy, basically everybody is in therapy. One of the brothers is making sure that the brother-in-law will never have access to animals ever again. OP and Tortilla, which is her cat, are trying to move on with their life and look for a better future. Editor's note, I will also add that Ted has 8 older brothers and Ash is his youngest brother. The abuse Ash suffered from some of his older brothers was very extreme, and Ted was always his protector. That may help to understand some of the psychology behind this. Most recent post before this one, I edited it to only include relevant info and to fit the character limit, but Ellie is very kind and thankful to people for help. April 9th, 2022. The last time I wrote was just before the holidays, and I'll admit my holiday plans were not the brightest in hindsight. I know in my last update I said that I wouldn't just sit on the couch and wallow in self pity, but take a wild guess at exactly what I did. I honestly wasn't up to celebrating. My family is really into Christmas and happiness and joy, and I didn't want to bring the mood down, so I told my dad I was spending it with a friend who recently lost her husband. She went out of state to be with his parents, and I just stayed home with Tortilla watching movies. Ted called me Christmas Day, and for the very first time, I didn't answer. Are you all super proud of me? I definitely felt that you guys would be after so many of you agreed that I should come off completely, but please accept my baby steps. I just couldn't bring myself to go cold turkey for my best friend, even after everything that happened. He texted me later in the day to check in and make sure that I was alright, saying he saw my sister's photos on Facebook and noticed I wasn't there. Should I ask my sisters to block him? He loves them and they love him. Before everything went down, he truly was an amazing guy, and even now after everything, he's still doing his best. I don't know if it's how I write or when I write, or maybe it's me being biased by our relationship, but Ted is not as horrible as some of you paint him to be. He's also been going through something incredibly traumatic, and having to face head on everything that his family did is not easy. I sat on his text for a few hours thinking what to reply and honestly came up empty handed. I was not alright, but all in all, he's still the person who knows me best. The 10 years we spent together weren't wasted time. We didn't break it off because we fell out of love, because it's what was best, but because it's what was best for both of us. You guys get to read my updates from a point of privilege in a sense. You're not the one whose lives got destroyed and went from one happy family to being completely on your own. I had my family and you to fall back on, but Ted didn't. Some of his brothers hate him even more now because of all of this. He lost his best friend and little brother, he lost his partner, he lost Tortilla too, and even though it's a good riddance, he also lost his mom. It's easy to villainize him and think him some monster for hurting me, because you only know my side of the story and the tidbits I share with you, but he's still a person. He's also got incredibly hurt throughout this whole ordeal, and he's human and he's bound to make mistakes, even though I don't think us getting divorced will ever count as a mistake to him. I ended up just writing back something along the lines of wasn't up for a party, so I just stayed in with Tortilla. Merry Christmas. And I guess he knew something was wrong and came to my park. He knows the overall area where I live and the lovely park that I frequent, and he asked me to meet him, which I did. Yes, you can be less proud of my micro achievement that day, but once again, baby steps. We talked for a few hours. I didn't know he was spending Christmas by himself, otherwise I probably would have liked to spend it with him, or at the very least I would have invited him to my parents. A lot of you have insisted that cutting him off completely would be best, but I disagree. I might change my mind later on, but for now I think we still need each other a little bit. Each day I do think I need him a little bit less, but that day I needed him, and some days he needs me too. I'd like to think we can be friends, but I know that long term that might not be suitable. That might not be sustainable. At some point, he'll find an ex partner, and they probably won't like me much. Or maybe we'll grow apart. Maybe one day I'll hate him for everything that happened, but for right now, he's helped me in ways that others can't. It might sound it might sound stupid on my end, but I don't think anyone other than him truly understands who I am right now. I'm not the same person I was before everything went down. I'm not even the same person I was a year ago. Going through this whole thing with his family changed both of us a lot, and not everyone gets it or understands why I'm not comfortable bringing kids to the bathroom or why I had to go home sick when my boss gave me sunflowers on International Women's Day. I do think that we both lost parts of ourselves that were perhaps a bit too naive, and we've both grown up in ways neither of us expected to have to grow, but that I lived my life in that more empathetic way, or at the very least, I'd like to think so. Maybe that's just what going to therapy does for you. In which case, I definitely suggest everyone to go to therapy, He-Man or not. All in all, I think we're both doing a little bit better. Yeah. Tortilla is doing great, apart from a little health scare. She is per usual doing great. Our new place has a lot of windows, which means a lot of sunny patches, which she is enjoying thoroughly. Ted went no contact with most of his family and is currently low contact with brother 4 and brother 6, so I don't really have anything to tell you about Ash or the rest of the brothers other than brother 6, who is really sad that Ted is keeping his distance from him, specifically since he also cut off mostly everyone, but he says he understands and that he'll be there for him whenever he's ready. It was brought up quite a few times that what was always referred to as bullying was actually abuse, and I do think it's important to use that word when describing their childhood. I think precisely part of the problem that caused the House of Cards to come down was the dismissive way everyone went about it and how much they all, including Ted and Ash, downplayed it as either boys will be boys, brothers are like that, or simply I thought it was normal. I think if any of the wives or I had known the extent of things in their childhood, perhaps a lot of different decisions would have been made. Of course, my ex mother in law is to a lot to blame for that, but well, I guess we've all learned from it. I don't think I'm ready to date yet. I think I need to learn to be alone first. I was with Ted since college, and it's been quite some time since. I don't even think I know how to do a first date anymore, but I'm sure I'll be able to Google it whenever I get there. It's been weird adapting to solitude. I don't want to call it loneliness because sometimes it's nice, you know? I'll finish a book and close it, and the place will be quiet and not in an eerie way, but somehow comforting. Uh, I've had to learn a lot, which made me realize how heavily I relied on others to help me with things that I always could have done myself. I changed a tire for the first time. It was a scary experience because my tire popped on a highway, but I did it. I learned that different plants have different care requirements after killing a bunch, but now I have a little basil that's doing great. I learned that I actually don't really care for action movies. The high speed and constant pressure is not something I enjoy. I learned to cook shrimp. Ted is allergic, so we never had any at home. Pro tip, don't forget to devein your shrimp. Good to know. There are also things that I miss about being with Ted. I had to drive myself to the emergency room after missing a carrot with a knife, and I think that hospitals should have valet options. Tortilla had a health scare, and being alone in the waiting room was truly awful. The death anniversary of a childhood friend came and went, and he wasn't there to comfort me. I also really, really dislike mopping, and I'm stuck having to do it myself. That's about it, I think. I haven't seen Ted since Christmas, though we do still text each other very so often, and have called each other a few times, but we're learning to be apart without withdrawing all of our support at once. We are still healing, I am still healing, but now I can confidently say that I can see a bright side when before it was just kind of living one day at a time. I don't know if that makes sense. Ted's birthday is coming up. I don't think I'll go see him, but I'll ask his friends to make sure he's not alone. I've been toying with the idea of adopting an elder cat for him. He always felt so strongly about them, and I think it'd be good for him, but I don't want to overstep. What do you guys think? And then there was an update, February 11th, 2023. Title: P-Gate Update VI, whatever number that's supposed to be. Return of the P-Man. Oh gosh, no. Okay, yeesh. Hello, lovely people of Reddit. How are you? Almost an entire year has gone by, and I hope that we have all grown older and wiser. It's endearing to know that even after all this time, there are still people following me and sending me heartwarming messages and comments. Also, thank you to whoever reported me to Reddit Care. I didn't even know that was a service they offered. It was, I hope, from a place of caring and concern. I guess at some point the story made it onto TikTok, so hello to all of those who came from there. At this point, I'm expecting AOL chat rooms or Yahoo Answers were to show up. The new 20s are kicking my ass and not in a particularly positive way. I cannot wait for this decade to be over. Uh, a Redditor called my last update the holiday special and made it laugh. I don't think they meant it kindly, but it just struck me funny because I'm an absolute sucker for the Hallmark Channel. So here I am again after the holidays. For my haters and those who don't want to sit for a half-hour monologue, here's the too long didn't read. I got a robot mop, my basil died, things started to look somewhat normal, my ex-husband tried to kill himself, and now I'm back living at my parents'. Oh my god. Okay, in case I've highlighted the bits and mentioned in the too long didn't read in case you want to skip to different parts. But now for the longer version of events, not necessarily in chronological order. My life saving robot mop and my dying basil. At the suggestions of multiple Redditors, I got myself a steam mop at first. It definitely helped, but I still had to go through the motions of mopping, and the floor still being a little damp and my socks getting wet is what bothers me about mopping. So, at the suggestion of other Redditors, I got a robot mop. I have a Roomba, I just didn't know they also made mop versions. It's perfect and I love it. I run her while I'm out for the day. Huh? Okay. We're gendering our we're gendering our Roombas now. Cool. Um, it's perfect and I love it. I run her when I'm out for the day, and I come home to nicely fresh, dry floors, and it's the best feeling in the world. My little basil plant died. I think it's my fault because I moved it from where it had been in the kitchen, from where I had it in the kitchen, and it was getting more light than before, but it's dead. I did make a really nice pasta salad with the rest of it. Orzo with cherry tomatoes, mozzarella balls, olive oil, salt, and basil. Super simple and delicious. I was gifted a few miniature rose plants. Thoroughly killed all of them in a few months and kinda gave up on live greenery. Life going back to somewhat normal and my internal monologuing ramblings. Life sucks and then you die. One of my sisters has always been attached to that saying, and I think that the beauty of it is that it can be interpreted in so many different ways. She sees it as a reminder not to focus on the bad things, for you never know when you will die. But right now, I feel it a bit more literally. I believe the romanticized saying of when it rains, it pours comes from a similar sentiment. I went on a date. A friend of mine set me up with a coworker because, and it was weird. I don't know if I've always been this awkward, or if first dates are as a rule are awkward, or if we simply don't click with each other, but I just spent the entire dinner with this feeling of fight or flight. The guy was lovely. I don't know. Maybe we should have just done something less formal than dinner. I haven't had a first date in so many years. I guess people nowadays do coffee instead, and I should have gone that way. Or maybe I wasn't ready yet. My new, not new anymore, but the one I got after everything happened, job is lovely. My boss doesn't give me flowers anymore. I don't know if he's perceptive and saw what happened last year and got the hint, or if someone mentioned something, but now when everyone else gets flowers, I get lamps. I know it sounds random, but I love lamps and light up things. In the past year, he has given me a little cat night light that brings me so much joy, also some fairy lights, and one of those Himalayan rock salt lamps. He's a great guy, and I really appreciate the effort. My workmates are great, and the work we do is both fun and fulfilling, which is something I didn't have before. I used to have two jobs, one fulfilling and one to pay the bills. It's crazy to have one that does both, and it makes me feel like I wasted so much time of my life in my previous one. So that's a silver lining of everything. Tortilla is doing great. She now has to eat prescription food and is very unhappy about it, even though it's been months. The winter is always a little rough on her because she gets extra fluffy, and you can tell it bothers her, so 'tis the season for more brushing and de-shedding. If you have long-haired pets, I do recommend the Furminator, but Amazon has cheaper comparable alternatives. She is getting older, so I do what I can to make sure she's comfortable. One of my sisters got a kitten, and we watch him while she's out of town, and Tortilla absolutely adores him. Matcha, the kitten, doesn't love all of the grooming she gives him and pretends not to like her, but if she's asleep, he'll go and cuddle with her, but if she wakes up first, he'll run away. I'm rambling perhaps because I don't know where to start or what to tell, and it's also scary in a sense because I know certain people keep tabs on me through this account, but and I don't care if they do, but it still feels odd. Kind of like the feeling you get when you know someone is watching you from afar. I don't know if that'll make sense to you guys, but yeah, anyway. When I'm feeling particularly masochistic, I'll read comments on places where the P-Man saga has been shared. Most of you on my own threads are absolutely lovely and supportive, but outside my own virtual walls is where people share the harsher opinions. As I mentioned, it's masochistic and unhealthy, and I know it, and my therapist knows it, but it also grounds me a bit and helps me see things from perspectives I hadn't considered. For example, someone called me deranged for being so obsessed over cats. Wow. I hate that person. I don't even know them, and I hate them. What the? What? You're not deranged over cat. You're not obsessed over cats, and you're not deranged either. And I think loving your cats is a good thing. I hadn't really noticed, but a good portion of my updates do revolve around cats and cat well-being. This is because I, in fact, do love cats. That person said I showed more empathy toward cats than I did towards Ash or my family in law, or even Ted. And yeah, a little. Consider me sociopathic if you like, but domesticated animals in general do not have a say in what goes on in their lives, as we pet owners make their decisions for them and try to make the best ones that we can. But in regards to Sunny, yes, I absolutely and to this day will always feel more empathy for her than for anyone else involved because she was helpless, there was no other option for her, no safe place, and no one to advocate for her. Even if you take out the sentimental component in my attachment to cats, from a humane standpoint, it was still awful, and there was a reason why animal cruelty charges were considered. Other comments said I was over victimizing myself, that what I went through was truly nothing and I'm just dramatic, which maybe I am a little, and that the true victims were X or Y or Z. I think each person involved in this whole ordeal is a victim in one way or another, but being a victim in your own story does not trump you being a villain in someone else's. Take my ex mother in law, for example. She is the person who's gotten the least amount of sympathy in everything I've read, but her husband was a piece of shit. He was an abusive father and husband. I know her upbringing was less than stellar, and has a lot of unresolved trauma with the death of her daughters. Does it excuse her behavior? No. Does it explain it a little bit? Maybe. Does it make better all of the damage she caused? Definitely no. Ash was a victim of an incredibly abusive childhood, but part of the reason why this caught everyone by surprise and why everything went downhill so fast is because he was very well put together, or at least he was incredible at managing or hiding away his feelings. He has an engineering degree from a recognized university, he had a stable job and successful life after he graduated. Everything went down with the pandemic and the isolation. I don't know, and I've thought about this a lot, but I do wonder if there had been no pandemic, what would have happened? Would Ash not have snapped? Would something else have triggered him? Would someone else open the skeleton closet? The imaginary what ifs are their own adventure. I have pictured so many different lives with happy, sad, and tragic endings. I am aware that it's not good to fixate on those, but sometimes I envy the possibilities. I will admit, though, that in my wildest imaginations, I did not quite ever picture Ted dying. He is not dead, let me preface with that. He is doing okay right now. Please remember that while all of this is written from my perspective, the real person in the middle of it was Ted. I was just a casualty. It took many, many therapy sessions to come to terms with the fact that it wasn't really my fault. I was just the unfortunate one to have drawn the short stick. What made Ashby the way he ended up was the years of abuse and dismissive attitude from their family, and one way or another that would have come out regardless of my involvement. I like to imagine something somehow would have convinced him to go to a real therapist, and it would have been dealt with in a safe, healthy way. But I guess we'll never know. The one thing I've come to be thankful for is that it, the one thing I've come to be thankful for is that it was me that broke the camel's back, and not the brother one's daughter. Things would have been drastically different and much more horrifying. Ted, also a trigger warning, which I think is the attempted suicide or something. So, as you all remember, I kind of kept in touch with Brother Six after the divorce, but after the suggestion, like many of you and a lot of people in my life, I kind of took a step back and distanced myself from him. A few months after, I got contacted by the Brother Six asking me if I had heard from Ted recently, which I hadn't, and he explained that some family stuff had gone down. He didn't explain what, nor did I ask, and that a lot of them had tried to reach out to him, but nobody had succeeded. He told me he was worried and that he was making plans to come to our city to check in on him and to let him know if I heard from him. I know Ted was deliberately keeping his family at a distance, including Brother Six, so it didn't really strike me as odd that they hadn't heard from him, but to give credit when it's due, it's not like Ted to just ignore a family emergency. I shot him a message letting him know that Brother Six had contacted me looking for him, but I didn't hear back from him. At that point, Ted and I had distanced ourselves from each other, like it had been suggested over and over in my multiple updates. So it also wasn't alarming when he didn't reply back, but he did read my message. Fast forward about 2 weeks or so, and Brother Six tells me he's in town and would like to meet me. I said yes because I missed him and asked him to dinner at this new place that I thought he'd like, and he said no, just coffee. That was weird because Brother Six is a massive foodie and he never turns down new restaurants, but I figured he was only in town for a few days and wanted to spend more time with Ted. We met at my park, and honestly, he looked rough. I just remember taking a step back and this feeling of dread. You know when you know a person is going to give you bad news? To be absolutely honest, I thought he was going to tell me that Ash was back in town, but he just looked so ready to give up. He told me that a few more things had come to light in the family that I wasn't really interested in knowing, so I didn't ask for specifics. I'm sorry I can't provide more hot goss, which I know is something that you guys like. And that when he come to check on Ted, he found him spiraling pretty bad. Ted was never much of a drinker, just kind of socially and on special occasions. That when he got to his place, he was completely wasted at 10 a.m. on a Saturday. Brother Six stayed with him and sobered him up, and eventually on Sunday, he caught him up on the family situation. Brother Six went out to grab his stuff from his hotel and came back to Ted completely unresponsive. He called emergency services, and Ted stayed in the hospital for a bit. I don't really know if anything else happened to him or if it was just an accumulation of everything that had been happening for the past 2 years catching up with him, but it feels to me that he had been going on a self-destructive bender for quite a while. Talking it over with my therapist, she kind of implied that that would make sense, and it would also kind of explain why the divorce. Maybe I'm just trying to find a justification of why he divorced me even after all this time, but knowing Ted the way that I do, that would make sense. He was always a great protector. I guess he got that trait early in his life protecting Ash. He's the type of guy to keep an eye out on girls' drinks at a bar. That is always that always stops to check him that always stops to check if an unaccompanied child is okay. He also has some controlling tendencies that most often lead him to anxiety. He's a great planner, but has great difficulties when things don't go according to said plan. It makes him rigid at all times, but also extremely reliable. But those are all things I always loved about him. Many times during our multiple conversations before the divorce, he would always apologize for not being able to protect me, for putting me in harm's way. And even though I thought I had reassured him that it wasn't his fault, I guess he was never convinced. He was also coming to terms with the reality that his family was not really as nice as he thought. Having realized that he himself had taken part in the dismissiveness of the family's actions throughout their childhood, having to realize how bad and horrifying his past was and how monstrous some of his brothers are, it really takes a toll on a person. He was dealing with his own trauma, the immeasurable guilt he felt, and all in all, the powerlessness. Ted ended up going to a treatment center for a bit. He wouldn't let me visit, but he did write me emails. They were a little too personal to share with you guys, but it was a very emotional experience reading them. The first few apologetic for making me worry and reassuring me that he was all right. Some others very rambling, and that's coming from me, and some others actually pretty great. It was a very interesting progression seeing him go from hyper polite and apologetic back to the same man I fell in love with. It was also very interesting seeing him internalize things that I've been saying for years and also gaining insight on things that I hadn't seen before. Overall, I think it was cathartic for him. I do think writing is the best outlet, hence why I'm here. And I helped him organize, and it helped him organize his thoughts. Why emails to me specifically instead of a diary or emails to himself? I have no idea, but I'm not complaining. There was one particular email where he was angry at everyone and everything. Everything was wrong and he was frustrated, and I felt so relieved. It was amazing reading his spark coming back. When he first emailed me, he asked me not to reply to his emails, to just listen, read, or that if I wanted to, I could just delete him. And I could just delete them and he would be none the wiser. In the angry email, he called me by a nickname that he hadn't used in years, since before he got married, and boy did that piss me off. It wasn't anything serious. He was ranting about a trip he had taken with a few friends, and they ended up breaking up in the middle of it and didn't want to go back home because everything was already paid for, but refused to be with each other, so we ended up splitting boys and girls to do the activities that were planned, and he was miserable the entire time. He said something along the lines of, I haven't forgiven Alyssa for Venice. It was supposed to be you and I, Peaches, not me and Rog on a freaking gondola. It's nothing wrong with the pet name itself, but it just brought back the feeling of everything I had lost and all the memories of everything, and I went against his request and replied to his email. This led to more correspondence between the two. He didn't take it badly that I replied, so I don't know if that was his intention all along or what, but we emailed back and forth for a few weeks and it was nice. We never talked about Ash or his family when we emailed. I don't know if it was because it just didn't come up naturally or if he was avoiding the topic, but it was nice just communicating with him like back in the day. When he first met Facebook Messenger, when we first met, Facebook Messenger was the thing we used to communicate, and just writing to him brought me back to those days. It's stupid how much I still love him and how much I missed him. Those stupid emails were like getting my best friend back, even if he wasn't my husband anymore. He is now back at his place. Brother three, his wife and dog lived with him. Yay, remote work for a while, just until he got properly settled. He now takes antidepressants and has a broader support network and is doing great. He stopped shutting people out while still maintaining some healthy boundaries, which is great. He's back in touch with brother three, brother six, and brother four, which were always his closest other than Ash, and has absolutely no contact with everyone else. I feel a little bad for his nibblings because I knew he was really close to some of them and I know he misses them, but yeah, that's something he definitely needed. For what it's worth, Brother Six is also no contact with everyone. He was always kind of distant with everyone other than Ted Nash, I'm guessing because he knew. But after everything, he's kind of getting closer to Brother 4 and Brother 3, which, hey, another silver lining. I'm not entirely sure what contact 3 and 4 have with everyone else, but I do know that Brother 4 is somewhat involved, but he has a clear understanding and respect of the boundaries that Ted set and does not share information with him or of him. Ted and I have met a few times, sometimes at friends' events, others just to catch up, and we and I honestly can tell he's doing good now. He's regained the weight he lost, and his hair is shiny again. You can't see his freckles anymore, so he's been spending time in the sun, which is good, and his shoulders don't sag anymore. He went back to his job this past week. He was put on LOA, leave of absence, and I can tell how much it gives him a sense of purpose. He was never able to not do anything, so I can imagine how that time was extra itchy for him because of that. We did end up going to a shelter, and he adopted an elderly cat. Ugh. His name is Socks, I'm guessing, because he has white paws. He's a great cat. He's a great cat and very loving. He's also missing a bunch of his teeth. Ted has been trying to rename him Macbeth, but he doesn't seem to like it. In Ted's defense, he also doesn't respond to Socks, so maybe he'll succeed. I brought Tortilla to visit them, and she was really happy to see Ted. She didn't really care for Socks, but that's because she doesn't like animals bigger than her. Back at my parents' and my life right now. As I mentioned before, I live on the East Coast, and 2022 was particularly rough for us. Two hurricanes hit my town and my apartment flooded. Yikes. Oof, I don't like that. During state of emergency, my dad always invites us to their place, so at least Tortilla and I were safe, but yeah, that sucked. I didn't know if it was a message from the universe or divine intervention or what, but you know the two pairs of shoes that I kept? Ruined, both of them. I tried everything in my power to save them, even consulted professionals, but yeah, ruined beyond repair. I mean, it wasn't only those two shoes, like half of my belongings had to be replaced, and a bunch of other sentimental things, but you guys know about the shoes and my attachment to them, even if they were a biohazard. My poor apartment went through a lot. The floors had to be removed because of the water damage, and it was already rotting and molding underneath by the time we were able to go in, so that was a big investment to fix. My appliances needed to be replaced, including the robot mop, tragically. No, not the robot mop! And most of my furniture, too. For the record, I did have sandbags, but I guess it was too much for them. Insurance covered a portion of the repairs, but clearly not all. Insurance claims suck. And well, it ended up being the best option to fix the things and sell the apartment. I've always complained about moving, but there was something so depressing about moving with just a few boxes. Not even when I went to college did I have so little with me, so I'm currently staying with my parents. Again, it's a little frustrating, but I'm grateful to be with my parents. The house feels a little lonely because the last of my sisters moved away to college, so it's quiet except for the cats running around. But hey, cats are great company. Don't worry, OP. I too am living with my mom again. Like, after so much and trying to move out for like 5 years, but I am again living with my mom. I always end up back here somehow. And yes, cats are great company, but my mom said no to a cat, so I gotta wait till I move and get my own place again. I'm in the process of closing on a new apartment. In a high rise this time, so this hopefully doesn't happen again. I'll miss my park, but the new apartment is in an amazing location with everything nearby. I could also bike to my job if I wanted to, but I'd have to learn how to ride a bike fast. Why don't I know how to ride a bike? Because my dad was too overprotective and thought we'd die if we got on a bike. I don't know if I'm too old to learn how to ride a bike now, but I'm willing to bruise my ego and try training wheels. The new apartment has much bigger windows, so there will be lots of sunny patches for a tortilla. I wanted to build a catio at my last place because I did have a small terrace, but the new place has a balcony, which seems a little unsafe for a catio. So yeah, that's life right now. I've been focusing on work and spending time with my parents. I booked myself a trip in March, and it'll be my first time traveling alone. I'm slightly scared because I've never had to plan a trip by myself. Then I mentioned Ted is a great planner, and I have no idea if I'm doing things right, but that's the point. I've been taking classes for the language of where I'm going, so we'll see how much I actually learn. I want to share something as well, which is ultimately why I ended up writing this update and choosing the title. I did not add in the too long didn't read because screw the haters. If they don't want to read all of my ramblings, why should they be privy to it all? Uh, Back when Brother Six contacted me about Ted, I was afraid that he was telling me that Ash was back, and as you know now, that was not the case. When Ted was getting help, I received a letter at my parents' house. It was a letter from Ash. For the first time in 2 years since P-Gate happened, I didn't feel dread. I don't know if it's because I was receiving Ted's emails, or maybe I've done some good healing. My therapist really should start charging me more. She refused when I offered her a raise, saying it doesn't work like that. But yeah, I read it. He apologized. He also owned up to a lot of things he had done to me that I had never noticed were microaggressions on his part, and he owned up to a lot of his behaviors that always bothered me. He didn't try to justify anything, just apologize. He admitted to a few other things that were both surprising and not, and some others that a few of you guessed about. It felt a little rambly and desperate, but I get it. He apologized for hurting Ted, that he knew what Ted was going through, perhaps more than anyone else, and that he understood that he had done irreparable damage and was never going to be in his life again. That even if he couldn't help his brother after everything he'd caused, he knew that by at least owning up to his mistakes he could at least make it up a little to me, and that even if Ted never knew about it, it was a small way for him to apologize to me indirectly. He said a line that I found interesting. I'm sorry I ruined your marriage, but I don't think I ruined your life. Ted would not have chosen you if you weren't resilient. He also thanked me for trying. I tried really hard at first to be friends with him, but after the incident, of course, it was a big nope. He said he had given up on people other than Ted trying for him, and that he was sorry he never gave me a chance. He admitted he was jealous that I brought Ted happiness in ways he couldn't, and that he regretted that because of him, Ted had lost that. I think it was just a way to try to appease the guilt he was feeling about hurting his favorite person and seeing the actual effect it had on him, while also somewhat respecting his boundaries. I mean, he disrespected mine, but yeah, I get it. I haven't told Ted about the letter. I don't think I will either. I did tell my brother Six, and even though he was enraged at first, he understood and accepted it and told me it was up to me if I told Ted or not. That he didn't think it'd do much harm, but also wouldn't help anything, so that if I felt compelled to tell or show him to wait a while, well, he was in a better place, and that perhaps to run it by his therapist or do it in therapy. Closing thoughts. Christmas has come and gone again, and this year I did spend it with my family. My sisters are the best, and each of them bought me a pair of shoes to represent my life milestones, and they gave me an empty shoebox to represent the pair that I'll have to buy to start this new chapter. It's the most sentimental gift I've ever gotten, and I cried most of Christmas morning because of it. I saw Ted for New Year's. We were both invited to a mutual friend's party and we had a great time. We didn't intentionally spend the whole time together, but we did often end up in our own conversations without being rude to everyone else and just laughing together. When midnight struck, I was sitting in the back, kinda away from the couples. Andy sat next to me and put his head on my shoulder, and we just stayed in comfortable silence while everyone else rang the new year. It's such a relief to have Ted the friend back. I still love him. I probably always will. I tried the distance thing, the contact, the no contact, the sleeping with someone else to get him out of my system, and it does not work. I don't know if he's my fated soulmate and will always gravitate towards each other, or if it's just the comfort and convenience of being together for so long, but I can't help but love him. I love the man he was before, and I love the man he is right now, and I love the one he was in between, and if I'm being honest, I probably will love the one he will be every day after. I will not give him up, even if I have to give up on him. I'd rather keep him in my life as my friend than keep pushing him away when I'm always happiest when he's in my life. I deserve to be happy, and he makes me happy. Is that so wrong? I know most of you keep saying that it was a good riddance and that he did me a favor, and we should just cut each other off, but I miss him. Maybe it makes me stupid, but hey, at least I will be stupid and happy. If he asks me to step back, I will, but I'm okay with just being happy right now and worrying about the future later. I think both of us deserve that. We both still have a lot of work to do and a lot more healing coming our ways, but for right now, things are good, and I think we both need good. I think all of us, you guys included, need good. If you've made it this far into my ramblings, thank you for taking the time. I wish you all the good things. May you find $20 in your pocket. May your favorite drink be in stock at the store. May your coffee be made to perfection. But seriously, thank you guys for always giving me the space to talk about my life without much judgment. With love and acceptance and understanding, each and every one of you is incredible and kind. Please always know that I appreciate you and love each of you independently. Thank you for caring for me. Love, Ellie and Tortilla. Aw. I haven't read any of the previous Buster Redditor updates, so maybe there's obvious red flags that I don't know about. But fuck me, man, something about these posts feels so human, like it hits me right where it hurts. I'm glad OOP is writing this post. Take the catharsis where you can get it, OOP. Oh my gosh. Uh, hang on. You need to read the entire saga. It's worth it, though harrowing. The ones who are the worst are in fact the least mentioned in the post. The brothers, all those who bullied, they did all that and had the audacity to target OOP and going no contact with her. Well, they are the ones who started all this. Of course, the mother is no saint, but they are the worst. And look at the universe shitting on OOP and the husband and poor Sonny, while the perpetrators, abusers, walk away royally and don't give a rat's ass. Yeesh. Okay, there's a lot going on. Oh my god, that was a long freaking post. I'm gonna try and read a couple more. Hmm. Boop boop. Oh my gosh. What the fuck, bro? Oh no. Oh my god. Okay, so something just popped up on my front page from r/non-binary and it's politics related. And usually I try to stay away from politics, but I feel like I have to read this. To anyone who says you're overreacting, Trump is making his first fucking day priority to start waging war on us. Okay, blah, blah, blah. Oh my god. Today, President Donald J. Trump announced his plan to stop the chemical, physical, and emotional mutilation of our youth because no serious country should be telling its children that they were born with the wrong gender. Oh no. Revoke Joe Biden's cruel policies on so called gender affirming care, a process that includes giving kids puberty blockers, mutating their physical appearance, and ultimately performing surgery on minor children. Oh my god, and there's more. Sign a new executive order instructing every federal agency to cease all programs that promote the concept of sex and gender transition at any age. Ask Congress to permanently stop federal taxpayer dollars from being used to promote or pay for these procedures. No. Pass a law prohibiting child sexual mutilation in all 50 states. Declare that any hospital or healthcare provider participating in the chemical or physical mutilation of minor youth will no longer meet federal health and safety standards for Medicaid and Medicare and will be terminated from the program. Support the creation of a private right of action for victims to sue doctors who have unforgivably performed these procedures on minor children. Oh my god, and there's more of it. Ugh, this is disgusting. Oh my god, are you kidding me? Ugh. Oh oh my gosh, okay. That's like just so disturbing and upsetting. So they're gonna make it so like you can't even um at any age. Like, it'd be one thing if it was just kids, that's bad enough, but, like, to make it not okay at any age to, like, be banned from changing, like, undergoing gender affirming surgery or getting puberty blockers or, like, whatever you need. Like, I'm on the list for top surgery right now, and if I was in the US, I would have to worry about not being able to get top surgery because these changes are going into effect. I mean, that's just the plan. I don't know if that's actually going to happen. I sure as hell hope not, because that is disgusting. So you're taking away people's rights to their own body. And this is exactly what happened with Roe versus Wade. Like, in certain states now, you can't get an abortion even if there's a danger to the mother or the baby. Like, this is absolutely disgusting. I can't believe that this is what's happening in the world right now and in the US. This is so gross. Like, I just had to read that post because it's fucking terrible. Alright. This next one is from r slash am I the asshole, and it's kind of funny because I feel like we need a funny post after what we just read. Am I the asshole for using fart spray to get my uncle to stop with his cruel prank? My Uncle John has a super fun way to make kids cry. He will get the oil from lemon rinds and touch balloons. Sometimes they pop immediately and sometimes they take a few seconds. At every party I have ever attended where there were balloons and children, he left a trail of torn latex and crying children. My parents think it's all in good fun. I think he is a prick. My sister had her quinceanera last week. My contribution was a balloon arch. My sister was obviously turning 15 and didn't really care about balloons, but we got some really nice pictures with the arch. Then I set it up outside on some astroturf. A few other people used it for pictures as well. Then my uncle showed up. I went up to him and told him that I had paid for the arch for my baby sister's party and that I wanted him to leave it alone. He said he would. He did not. I didn't want any accidents inside, so I didn't add the 3 balloons with fart spray to the arch until I moved it outside. And the balloons were double baggers. I had blown up one inside another before I inflated the outer one but you could see the inside of a but you could see the inside balloon. It was too much of a temptation. He resisted for 10 minutes or so. Then someone came and told me. I went out. He was about to pick up the inner balloon, and I told him not to touch it and to stop blowing up the decorations. He didn't listen. He said he wasn't doing anything except touching the balloons and that it wasn't his fault they were popping. So be it. He picked up the inner balloon. It wasn't as inflated as the outer one, so the surface tension was lesser. Therefore, it took almost 2 seconds for the balloon he was holding so proudly to pop. Gagging, dry heaving, watery eyes, and a profound desire to be elsewhere. I went through all that. I cannot imagine what it would be like to be drenched in the liquid form of fart spray. Drenched is an overstatement. There was maximum half a fluid ounce of fart liquid in the balloon, and he was covered in it, and the pop did aerosolize it somewhat so it got all over. He ended up having to go home and change. It was only like half an hour he was gone, maybe an hour. I wasn't paying attention. He did come back, though, freshly showered, and he is pissed that I would play such a childish prank at such an important event for my family. I said I had no idea what he was talking about. I reminded him that he had promised to leave the balloons alone, and that I had warned him not to touch the balloon that got him. My family are divided. They think I was a jerk to play a joke at my sister's party, but they are almost universally sick of him popping balloons. My grandfather also laughed his ass off. Not the asshole, you did good. Be sure to do this to him every time now. And then OP says, not too many opportunities to booby trap a balloon arch. Booby trap all the balloons. Every single one. You don't even have to do anything. When you see him, just give him that knowing glance every once in a while and he'll stay as far away from those balloons as possible. Oh my gosh, okay. Uh, there's something else. I'm gonna try and find what I was looking for. Boop, boop, boop. Here's one. Am I the asshole for saying that my sister's family can't temporarily move in with me and my wife due to their pets? Pets is in quotation marks. I, a 30-year-old male, have been married to my wife Naomi, 29 female, for 3 years, but have been together for over 10 years, and we are expecting our first child together. Naomi is currently 6.5 months pregnant, and I'm not going to lie, but her pregnancy is considered high risk, and our doctor advised her to avoid any stressful situations because of it. About 6 months ago, my sister Kate, 38 female, had bought a new built house with her husband Bob, 40 male, so they can accommodate all my nephews who are 17 male, 15 female, 7 female, and twins that are 14 months old. Their house is a 6 bedroom. Extra bedroom is used as Bob's hobby room. Bob is a lot into insects and spiders, so he has a few tarantulas, cockroaches, etc. Now to the issue. Latest survey has discovered that Kate's house is not safe to live in due to some construction issues. I don't know why it hasn't been picked up earlier, but now they have nowhere to live and have started a legal battle against the company responsible for building the house to get their money back. Currently, they cannot afford to buy another house or rent as prices for the places for rent are way too high in their area. Due to this, my sister has asked me if they can temporarily move in with me and Naomi, since Naomi inherited a large house from her parents. It is an older Victorian house that still requires a lot of work. So far, we have only replaced all the windows to keep the warmth in. The house has enough space for my sister and her family, and I said they can move in with us as long as they don't bring their tarantulas and other insects with them, as my wife is terrified of spiders, to the point of passing out or having a severe panic attack, and Bob has them escaping frequently. Oh boy. Bob refused. This resulted in a massive argument where I was called an asshole for not providing my sister and her family with accommodation at the time of need over some spiders. Edit, as this has been mentioned a few times, I've asked my wife and have spoken to her about my sister staying over, and it was her choice to agree as long as there was no spiders. I haven't made the decision myself without asking for her opinion first. Edit 2, I've seen a lot of people recommending my wife to go to therapy over her fear of spiders. She is in therapy for it, however, it is a bit complicated as one of her family members passed away due to complications caused after a spider bite while they were on holiday. I hope this explains why her fear is as severe as it is. Okay, well, you don't even have to justify why your wife is so terrified of spiders. Like, it doesn't even matter. She is it's your house, it's not their house, and it's not your responsibility to have them move in with you just because they're having issues at their house and they can't afford another place. And your one thing is that no, you can live with me, but you can't bring your spiders, you can't bring your tarantulas. Like, my mom was very graceful in letting me move in and bring my tarantulas. I didn't know exactly what to expect when I had to move in with her temporarily, but she let me move in with my tarantulas. Now, I love them. She understands that I love them like a lot and that I wouldn't want to get rid of them anyway. But I mean, if it really came down to it, then I would have to get rid of the tarantulas because it's not like I have anywhere else to go. But, she was nice enough to let me move in because she's an awesome person and she loves me and she cares about me and she knows that my tarantulas aren't gonna just like randomly escape. Like, my tarantulas are secured, but the fact that these tarantulas can escape and do often, that's an issue in and of itself. But like, honestly, you don't even have to justify anything about, you making this rule to not have tarantulas in the house. It's not a stupid rule, and it's not what you're asking for isn't unreasonable, and I can understand. And most people don't like spiders anyway. Most people wouldn't like tarantulas in their apartment, whether or not their family member died from a spider bite or not. This would definitely be a deal breaker for most people. And at the end of the day, it's your house and your wife. Again, you didn't even have to justify your high risk pregnancy that she's not allowed to be like all stressed out or whatever. But, because you did, that's a whole nother layer to this story. I mean, you added stuff that was other layers to this story, but even without the whole, oh, she's on a high risk pregnancy, she's not allowed to be anxious, and also she's scared because her family member died from a spider bite, even without those, you still wouldn't be the asshole for this. Because at the end of the day, it's your house and it's your rules to not let people move in or let people move in given certain criteria. Like, it's not that. There's a deleted comment, and then someone replies to that, and draw up a lease with everything in writing. That way you're protected and can evict them if necessary. Even without a even without a lease, you can evict them, at least in the US. Do your research. Tons of Americans complain how hard it is to evict people. In some states, guests get automatically tenants after a time living there, and it is hard to get them out even with a contract, so there is a lot of warning to let people stay with you. The government don't want people on the street, so tenants have more rights than the landlord, especially in the US. Yeah, it's like, I think it's 30 days or something, but if someone decides to come and squat in your house and you're like on a really long trip and, you come back and the squatter's been there for like a month, they can even claim tenancy rights in your house. Just a complete stranger can be like, I live here now. It's my place too. And you have to like go through a whole legal process to get them evicted. It's ridiculous. It's actually super unsafe, but people don't mind putting their families in danger. Anyway, I'm done with this story for now. Anyway, I'm just done with the story and I'm gonna move on. I think we're gonna move on to a last, you know what? One last story. We'll do one last story because this one's really, really dumb and also cute because it involves a lizard. And you guys know how I feel about lizards and reptiles in general. Am I the asshole for not attending my daughter's gender reveal for her lizard? And this one is marked as the OP being the asshole. This is literally really stupid, but she's really upset about it. I'm 48, and my 23-year-old daughter has a blue tongue skink who she heavily adores. She jokingly refers to it as supportive of this decision. Well, she recently took her skink to the vet for a checkup, and she was excited to find out her skink's gender. Afterwards, I got a text asking if I'd come to her gender reveal party she was having. She explained it was just a small get together with cake and food for her friends she hasn't seen in a while, with the gender reveal being mostly a joke and a way to make fun of real gender reveals. Well, I didn't come. I didn't see a point. It's just a lizard, and I'm a busy person. Uh, she later called me and expressed she was kind of sad I didn't come because it had been a while since I'd seen her, but she understood I was busy. I told her she couldn't actually expect me to come to a gender reveal for a lizard. She said that it wasn't a real gender reveal, that was more of a joke, and it was really just a small gathering to catch up with everyone. I told her if that was the case, she should have just called it a gathering because I'm not coming to a gender reveal unless it's for a real granddaughter. What? Okay. Are you joking? Um, it's not even about the lizard. I mean, the lizard is just the center piece of this party that's actually about her family. It just happens to be called a gender reveal, and it happens to be a silly little thing for this lizard. And not only that, but you're crapping on her interests, and you're clearly bitter about the fact that she doesn't actually have, grandkids. She doesn't have human grandkids, and you have a problem with that? Like, I refer to my snake as my scaly son, and I don't see a problem with that because he is my son and I'm never actually going to have human offspring. So, whatever, why can't I just have my snake? And my mom gets that. She knows I don't want human kids, and she knows I'm probably never gonna have human kids. She got quiet for a minute and then turned my words around, claiming I wasn't supportive of her decision to be child free. I told her she can't possibly expect me to treat a lizard as a granddaughter She said she didn't expect me to, but it was clear I didn't respect her bond with her lizard and her decision, and she just wanted to see me, and my reason for for not coming was hurtful. I told her she was being ridiculous over a lizard. She claimed it wasn't over the lizard, and it was a gathering and not even centered around the lizard. But I stick by what I said. It's ridiculous to have a gender reveal for a lizard. She hung up, and I got a message from her best friend about how I'm an asshole for treating her that way, but I don't think I'm the asshole for not wanting to go to a party for a lizard. Edit. In the time I was away, I got many replies and it was a lot to read through. Let me clear a couple things up. My issue is that she said the party was a gender reveal. If she had called it just a party, I would have come. But calling it a gender reveal makes it sound like it's for the lizard, and I'm not going to that, even if it is a joke. Two, I don't know why it matters, but the skink is a girl, which is why I said I'm not coming to a gender reveal unless it's for a real granddaughter. Okay, doesn't change that you saying that is a dick move, and you not wanting to go to the party is also a dick move. Even though I don't agree with my daughter for being child free, I have been supportive and only shown mild frustration. The reason she decided to be child free is she claims she's asexual. Oh boy, here we go. The whole claims thing. She claims she's this, she claims she's that, she claims she's non binary. I'm asexual myself. I just have to put that out there right away. And my mom has never had a problem with that. She's always been fine with it. She's like, okay, great, that's who you are. Like, yeah, that's who you are. It's a whole thing. Like, she doesn't care, and she doesn't care that I might not ever have human grandkids. And she thinks it's funny when I refer to my snake as my son. Like, she just laughs whenever I say it, and she says that's so. And she says she always says it's cute or it's funny or whatever. Like, she likes it. She actually appreciates it because it's a whole tongue in cheek thing, you know. I mean, he's not a human child, but he is my child, and I love him as much as I would love a human child. Like, I know that might be weird to say because, it's a snake, but it's probably the closest I'm ever gonna get to having a real child, and I'm allowed. And, you should love your pets as if they're family, and I absolutely love this snake, and I would do anything for him. Anyway, she claims she's asexual. She just doesn't want one. She has emotional baggage and feels unable to care for a real child. She fears pregnancy and she has a carrier gene like me and doesn't want to go through what I did. I had 4 miscarriages and a highly defect child that died after 3 months due to the gene. Yes, there has been slight tension between us because I think she just hasn't found the right man. She never dated growing up. Other fears are unnecessarily exaggerated, but it's ultimately her decision and I don't resent her. We haven't seen each other in 3 months. I'm a single mother and we've always been close, which is why she invited me with her friends. I just didn't want to go to a party with a lizard. And if it wasn't for the lizard, she should have called it a party instead of a gender reveal. Oh my god. This is so stupid. It is stupid because it was a party. She's allowed to call it whatever she wants. Just because she calls it one thing doesn't make it the other thing. Like, I could call a pizza an apple. It's still a freaking pizza, you know? I don't know. It's just dumb, man. It's just dumb. And you clearly have an issue with her not having real grandchildren, as you put it, but you should be supportive of her. And as I always say to my mom, like, it doesn't matter if you don't have to care about the lizard like she does, but you should care more about the fact that this is something that she cares about, and therefore you should care about her interests and you should treat them like they matter because they matter to her. I don't know. It's just ridiculous. Like, it's dumb to even be talking about this, but yeah. You are definitely the butthole. I mean, not because you don't want to go to a party that has a lizard. That's not the problem, but because you belittle her interests and you don't want to see your own daughter. It doesn't seem like you like her that much because you are like obsessed with her having grandchildren. And I don't understand why parents will just have a child and then be shocked when they grow up and they're a real person with They're their own person with their own like ideas and values. And for some reason, you have a problem with that, even though you decided to have this kid. And like, people, it just bothers me when parents get so upset whenever a child doesn't do something that perfectly lines up with their beliefs or how they want their child to be like. Like, your child is an individual person with their own beliefs and they're gonna do their own thing, whether you like it or not. And when they get to a certain age, you really have no say. I mean, when they're a kid, I guess you could try to force them to conform to what you want, but that's gonna turn out really badly for you. And it's just so stupid that parents will have a child just to be like, oh, you better give me grandchildren. If you don't give me grandchildren, I'm not gonna love you. Like, it's so stupid, and the fact that she was like, "Oh, I'm not coming to a gender reveal unless it's for a real granddaughter," and it wasn't even like an actual gender reveal. It was literally just a fun party with friends and cake, and like she wanted to see you. It just seems like you're not that interested in spending time with your daughter because of what she called the party, because what, you're not a fan of what she wrote on the invitation or something? Like, you have a problem with it being called a gender reveal even though she made it clear that it's not that, and it's not even the point of the party, and also that this was like a tongue-in-cheek thing, and that she was making fun of real gender reveals, which, as being a non-binary person, I have to say I really appreciate that. I find it kind of hilarious. I do love that. And actually, someone that I follow on Facebook actually said that they were getting taking their one of their lizards to the vet and they were gonna find out what gender it was. And I said, like, kind of jokingly, that they should do a gender reveal. And then she was like, "Oh my god, I should totally do that." And I was like, "Okay, yeah, you should do it then." I just think it's so cute and funny, the idea of doing that. And I maybe someday I'll get a pet and I'll do a gender reveal with that animal. And you know what? If I invite my mom, guess what? She's probably gonna be there, especially if it's not really a gender reveal, it's just a party because I want to see, the people that I care about. But it doesn't seem like you're just that interested in spending time with your daughter. Like, it seems like the only reason you had a kid is because you wanted them to have grandchildren, I guess. And now you have a problem because she's asexual. Like, okay. And you say she claims she's asexual, but you should just accept your child as they are. She's not claiming to be anything. She is what she is, and that's not going to change. I don't know. It's all just pretty dumb. All right, let's read a few comments. You're the asshole. That's your grand lizard. Edit ad. It was obviously not just about the gender reveal, and your daughter wanted to see you. Yeah. All right. That is freaking hilarious. That's your grand lizard. But yeah, it is. It is your grand lizard. You suck. So wait, afterwards I got a text asking if I'd come to her gender reveal party she was having. She explained it was just a small get together with cake and food for her friends. She hasn't seen in a while, with the gender reveal being mostly a joke and a way to make fun of real gender reveals. But then 2 paragraphs later, I told her she couldn't actually expect me to come to a gender reveal for a lizard. She said that it wasn't a real gender reveal, that it was more of a joke, and it was really just a small gathering to catch up with everyone. I told her if that was the case, she should have just called it a gathering because I'm not coming to a gender reveal unless it's for a real granddaughter. You just told on yourself, OP. She had already told you it was a joke, and you refused to go out of spite because she won't have kids. Then you had the gall to fucking gaslight her. In fact, she told you twice that the party wasn't actually for the lizard, but to the very end of your post, you keep saying it was for the lizard. Yep, she is completely bitter that her daughter isn't going to give her grandkids. Yeah. How dare you not do what I want? How dare you not follow the exact future I had planned out for you? There's this, it reminds me of this one episode, okay? There's this one episode of American Dad, A Boy Named Michael, one of my favorite episodes, by the way. And essentially, how it goes is one of the hilarious things about it, besides, everything, and also that it centers on Roger, who is probably my favorite American Dad character, but besides that, there's this one scene where they're obviously making fun of parents who have a life perfectly planned out for their child. They give them this binder. It's like, oh, look, we have your life planned out for you perfectly in a color coded binder, and you better follow every single thing that is in there, including the college that he'll go to. And in my mind, I'm going, like, okay, what if he doesn't get into that college? Are they going to, like, disown him and hate him forever? And of course, by the end of the episode, it doesn't even matter because he just goes running back to his old family, the Smiths. He's living with the Greg and Terry, by the way. That's the point of the episode. And then the point of the episode is that he learns to appreciate his old family, the Smiths. But, I don't know. It was a whole thing, and it was just one big joke about how parents will put their kids through these insane things and then put these insane expectations on their child. And, in the meantime, I'm over here like, okay, you can do whatever you want as long as you're not hurting yourself or anyone else. Like, do whatever you want with your, you can do what you want with your life. I don't know. I'm just saying, I have a kid who plays bass guitar. I have a kid who plays soccer. I have my daughter wants to be an artist. Uh, and a bunch of other stuff. One of my daughters wants to be a writer. I'm just saying I can support all their interests because I don't put these crazy expectations on my children, and I'm not like, you need to do exactly what I want or else. Like, I don't understand it. Like, part of having a kid is realizing they're going to grow up into their own human beings with their own interests and their own likes and dislikes, and their life is not going to perfectly align with whatever you want. There was this insane post that I saw. It's in an r slash video, but there was a really crazy post that I saw about this woman who was trying to, I think, take her sister's baby because she wanted the baby to align with her like beliefs and stuff, and she also didn't want the baby to have any issues, and the baby not having any issues part was what really struck me because just because they don't have issues now doesn't mean they won't have issues in the future. That's the first thing. Like, what if they got into a car crash and ended up in a wheelchair or something? Or what if they have a degenerative disease that they find out about in their teens? It happens. Not a lot, but it happens. Or like some stuff can't be seen through just pregnancy and birth and stuff. Like it takes a while for some issues to become apparent. Like my mom didn't know that I had autism until I was like 6 or 7. So, yeah, things could still come up later. You don't know. Or what if they contract some disease or something, or they get sick, like they get cancer? What is she gonna do then? Like, she doesn't want the baby to have any issues. That is the stupidest shit I've ever heard. And, like, oh my God, I don't know. It's just absolutely ridiculous. Stop having kids and expecting them to be the way you want them to be and expecting them to turn out a certain way and then be all bitter when they don't turn out the way you want and then try and gaslight them into doing exactly what you want. It's just not gonna work. It's not gonna happen. Most likely what your kid is gonna do is they're just not gonna want to be around you. They're gonna go no contact once they're 18 and they're never gonna look back. It's absolutely ridiculous. And like this was kind of a more silly one than the others, but it's still just shitty parenting all around. And stop being bitter that your kids don't just want to give you grandkids because, you just had them so you could carry on the family name or whatever. Like, your family's so perfect and amazing, and you must have grandkids because it's so important to carry on the family bloodline. Like, we're in the Middle Ages or some shit. Anyway, I might have a gender reveal party for an animal at some point, whether it be my snake or some other animal. I mean, they told me he was a male when I got him at the expo, but they could be wrong. I mean, people have been wrong about pets' genders in the past. Like, I don't know. I'm just saying. They don't all know, like, all the time. It's not a 100% guarantee that they're gonna know. Alright, I'm out of here. I love each and every one of you guys. Please don't forget to always be yourselves. You are valid. Don't forget to be good to yourself and others, and I will see all you guys in the next video.